Season 3, Episode 4 of A View from the Left Side, Buying Power, Fighting Back, and Diagnosing Donald was recorded on February 27, 2025. Segment 1, What Are You Buying or Not? Hello, this is Pamela Powers of Powers for the People. Welcome to my podcast, A View from the Left Side. Economic forces are shifting in the United States and worldwide. If you have been considering making a major purchase, now might be the time, or not. Last week, I made 2 major purchases that I've been mulling over for more than a year. A new stove for my kitchen and a small sleeper sofa for my office, right over there. My office is also a craft room, a music room, a second bedroom. Some of you might also have an everything room like this one. The sleeper sofa decision wasn't that difficult once I realized that the local Copenhagen furniture store still had the Monica in stock. And so now the Monica is here in my second bedroom, also known as my office and podcasting video room. Determining the optimal way to squeeze a new stove into a vintage kitchen took a lot more time and planning, but the current instability in our government and the uncertainty in the financial market compelled me to move ahead now with both of those purchases. Mean-spirited authoritarians backed by greedy billionaires and bolstered by weak legislative branches are leading many countries now, including ours. I'm really concerned about the future of our world and our shared economy going forward. Do you remember the massive loss of jobs, homes, and businesses after Wall Street crashed the world economy in 2008 and 2009? I do. Do you remember the unnecessary death and disease, the shattered families, the price increases, the supply chain disruptions, and the corporate profiteering during the pandemic and Donald Trump's first term? I do. All of this could happen again and worse, in my opinion. Right now in the U.S., Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, and his shadowy group of young acolytes are using unorthodox and haphazard methods to simultaneously fire thousands of employees, dismantle the federal government, and rig what's left of it for the rich. To cover up what's happening in the back rooms and the basements of federal buildings in D.C., a steady stream of lies, put-downs, threats, and goofy AI videos flood social media. Where's the president? When Trump's not rambling in front of a microphone somewhere or spewing lies on social media, he's golfing. Where's the vice president? J.D. Vance has been in Europe preaching free speech absolutism and telling the Germans that the Nazis really weren't so bad. At least Vance hasn't tossed out a Nazi salute at a public rally like Trump advisors Musk and Steve Bannon. At least not yet. Fingers crossed on that one. Where's the Speaker of the House? When Mike Johnson took the Speaker's chair in the fall of 2023, he told us that if he had a question, he would go to the Bible for guidance. At the time, that worried me, but now I'm concerned that he's tossed out all of his Bibles and made a deal with the devil. What would Jesus do in Congress? He wouldn't be thoughtlessly firing or deporting hard-working people, throwing families into crisis, stealing from the poor, ignoring the sick, and starving the hungry to feed a $4.5 trillion tax cut for the richest people in the United States. Where are the Democrats? They're mulling over their messaging, checking their polling data, and waiting for the right moment. Okay, guys, that looks a little weak. We are in the midst of a John Wayne Western with no hero in sight. Close your eyes and picture a dusty road at the old Tucson Hollywood movie set. Drunk with power and new in town, trigger-happy gunslingers Trump, Musk, and Vance swagger into the saloon, brandishing their 6 guns. They violently tip over the poker table to the surprise of the poker players sitting there, the mayor, the sheriff, a dude-suited European tourist, and a dirt poor farmer who just came into town to have a little drink, play some poker, and buy some groceries. They were shocked as they watched their money and all of the chips fly into the air and scatter on the ground of the saloon for the barfly banker and the hucksters to gather up. Dressed in black and looking like a sinister Yul Brynner, Putin and the authoritarian gang are outside peering over the saloon door. Standing next to them is the Holy Father, Preacher Johnson. He's a God-fearing man and obviously couldn't go into the saloon, so he's standing outside, clutching his cross and his Bible and watching the chaos. Where are the Democrats? Minority Leader Jeffries is on the honky-tonk piano in the corner, collecting tips and keeping his head low, because we all know in the Westerns, if the piano player stands up, he's going to get shot. So where's our hero? Where's our hero in this story? Where's John Wayne? Where's our modern-day Martin Luther King Jr. or Gandhi or Eleanor Roosevelt? I don't see them. A handful of politicians are speaking out, like Senators Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, also Representatives Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Jamie Raskin, Jasmine Crockett, a few other people like that. But where are the rest of the politicians? Where's our hero? Unfortunately, in Congress, when we're looking for heroes, what we find on both sides of the aisle are a lot of people who are over 80 years old. We also have a president who's almost 80 years old, where our former president was over 80 years old. Not to put down the old people, but we have an anti-system revolt going on our hands. And when we have a Congress that is primarily establishment candidates who have been around for decades, those people are not going to necessarily speak to the emerging electorate. So I suggest that the Octogenarians in the Congress should graciously step aside and allow new leadership to take care of our new problems in the country. As for speaking truth to power, I think we owe the comic pundits a debt of gratitude. Sometimes the regular headlines are just too stressful to read. I'm sure you can relate to some of this. I think we owe a lot to people like Stephen Colbert, John Oliver, Saturday Night Live, Jon Stewart, and his very creative team of co-hosts and reporters. They can speak truth to power with humor sometimes a little easier than other people can. For example, just this week, Jon Stewart had a very clever segment about Doge, and he said that he's not anti-Doge, but he's Doge adjacent. He thinks that the government could run more effectively. He thinks that they could spend our taxpayer dollars more efficiently. And in fact, he did a little exercise, and he showed that in 11 seconds, he could cut billions out of our budgets pretty easily without harming aid to other countries or aid to our citizens through Medicaid or health insurance or something like that. So what did he do? He cut the billionaires and the corporate subsidies. We don't need to subsidize, for example, Big Pharma. They're making plenty of money on us, and they won't even negotiate drug prices. So, yeah, Jon Stewart, I totally agree with you. I saw a lot of redundancies and make work and inept bosses and things like that when my 14 years at the University of Arizona and my 6 years in the Arizona legislature. And in fact, I did a video back in 2022 about wasting money and time in the Arizona legislature when it was controlled by the Republicans, which it still is. So there are things to cut, but the way that Doge is going at it with just like an axe at programs and then going, oops, we cut the guys who knew the nuclear codes. Oh, oops, we cut, the people who were monitoring Ebola. Let's not do this. What if it takes some time, okay? And so what's going on is really scary. And again, Where's our hero? Because I don't see a hero for our side of the aisle at this point. The United States has crashed the world economy before with bad decisions and greed, and we can totally do it again. Tariffs, trade wars, land grabs, broken agreements, befuddled thinking, mass firings, mass deportations, lusting for minerals in other countries, abandoning our allies, pardoning felons, glad-handing dictators, embracing billionaires. These are all bad strategies put into place during the first 38 days of the Trump 2.0 administration. They're doing all of these things while ignoring and often hurting everyday Americans who voted for him because they thought he was going to lower grocery prices. Well, tough luck on that one. Meanwhile, besides all of this uncertainty and chaos and self-inflicted wounds coming from the Trump-Musk administration, the market has its own drama going on. Since November 2022, with the release of ChatGPT, artificial intelligence, the market has been booming with billions of dollars invested in the AI arms race. This is not sustainable. As more big tech players entered the AI arena, everyone wondered which American tech giant was going to dominate AI in the future. Well, that was until the Chinese released DeepSeek, which is a far cheaper and more efficient platform than what is being developed in the United States. That burst onto the scene recently and kind of burst the tech bubble just a little bit, because all of a sudden, all those people who thought they were going to get ganga profits by, emulating the human brain and putting people out of work, all of a sudden it's not such a big surefire deal for their investment. So that looks a little shaky, what's going on with the market right now. And so, something could push it over the edge. So I would say that reckless economic and government decisions made by an elderly president and his brazen advisors, plus an impotent Congress, plus backlash from the American public, plus backlash from our allies, plus getting stabbed in the back by the dictators we shouldn't be trusting, plus a speculative bubble on Wall Street, plus disinformation in the social media, where does that leave us? I would say buy what you need now, protect what you have, keep your friends, your family, and your pets safe and close, and hunker down for a bumpy ride in the future. The Trump-Musk administration is obviously working for the billionaire class and no one else. The budget that was recently passed by the U.S. House on a party line vote is a prime example. It guaranteed $4.5 trillion in tax cuts that will primarily benefit the most wealthy people, because that's, who's writing the laws, and $2 trillion in spending cuts that would primarily hurt the rest of us, including cuts to health care and food stamps. So, as I asked at the beginning, is it time to make major purchases before the crash? Well, maybe. If you have a financial cushion and there's something that you're going to need in the near future, like my stove, it's probably a better idea to buy it now and get ahead of whatever price increases are going to come with the tariffs and whatever supply chain disruptions might be coming in the future. Segment 2, 10 Ways to Fight Back. Wealthy men are controlling our government and engineering a brighter future for themselves. The rest of us are nothing more than obedient consumers, data points on a marketing plan, and dollar signs on a spreadsheet. But we are not powerless. We have brains and ingenuity. We have free will and freedom of speech, at least for now, right? We don't have to give them our personal data or our money. We don't have to blindly follow their clickbait marketing promos. We have the power of the purse. And when it comes to billionaires, we have to hit them where it hurts, and that's in the purse. That is in their bottom line. So there are lots of little things that consumers can do to fight back the greedy corporatists who are plundering our country and snooping on our private lives. Here are 10 ways that we can fight back against corporate America. You can use the comment section to tell me which ones you have tried. Number 1, go to a protest. If you have been itching to take to the streets to express your discontent and protest against the destruction of our government, there are protests happening, including here in Tucson. Nationwide, there have been protests at local government buildings and at Tesla dealerships since unelected co-president Musk owns Tesla. Here in Tucson, the Tesla protest on February 22, 2025, last Saturday, reportedly drew 300 people. The organizers are trying to get 500 people for the protest that is March 1st, 2025, and that's this coming Saturday at 9:30 at the Tesla dealership on North Oracle Road in Tucson. And so check it out. There was also a good showing in Tucson last week at the downtown protest that's near the state and federal buildings in the plaza. Also, when we're protesting, we shouldn't forget about our congressional representatives. We have a Democrat and a Republican down here in southern Arizona. Republican Juan Ciscomani, who's a fake moderate, is completely worthless. He talks a good line when he's in southern Arizona and goes back and votes with the extremists when he's in D.C. Recently, he was speaking in Arizona and he said, oh my gosh, that Republican budget might be bad for some of my constituents who are on Medicaid. Well, yeah, it will. So what does he do? He makes a wimpy statement while he's down here. He signs a letter with a few other scared Republicans who are from swing districts. And when he gets to D.C., he votes for that budget. He votes for the tax cuts for the trillionaires and the program cuts for the rest of us. Our other congressman in southern Arizona is Raul Grijalva, who has been undergoing cancer treatment for a year, but he still ran for re-election. Grijalva missed the budget votes and just about every other vote for the last year. So, Mr. Grijalva, with respect, sir, please take care of your health. If you can't do your job in D.C., you need to step down, stay home, take care of yourself, ask yourself, is this job worth my health? And I'd say, no, it's not. And so if you can't do the job, Raul, resign and let us get another person in there. The loyal opposition needs all the fighters we can get in D.C. because obviously people like Ciscomani are completely worthless. Number 2, Buy Nothing Days. Friday, February 25th, 2025 has been designated as a Buy Nothing Day, a day of national protest against the oligarchy and corporate greed. Buy Nothing Day is like the exact opposite of Black Friday when we were pushed to buy, and buy some more. So plan ahead for Buy Nothing Day. And if you miss this Friday's economic protest, there are several social media lists that offer other days where people are going to do targeted Buy Nothing movements at selected stores or selected corporations. For example, Amazon, Walmart, Target, and McDonald's are on that list. I'll look for the list and put it in the Substack version of this podcast in case you want to participate in some of those targeted days of action or days of inaction and not buying. And so number 3 is be a choosy shopper. Several years ago, Jif Peanut Butter had the slogan, "Choosy moms, choose Jif." Well, I'm suggesting that we should all be choosy shoppers. If corporations are doing things that you disagree with, don't do business with them. Don't feed the billionaires if you don't like what they're doing. For example, I hate Amazon, and for years I have been trying to avoid buying anything from them. After Amazon owner Jeff Bezos told who's the second richest man in the world, he told the Washington Post, which he owns, not to run an endorsement editorial last fall for Kamala Harris. So he suppressed what the editorial board was going to do. And many people, an estimated 200,000 people or more, canceled their Washington Post subscriptions back then. Well, Bezos just did it again this week and saying that the opinion page on the Washington Post, which had been, full of lots of different types of opinions, can now only do 2 topics, personal liberty and free markets. Well, you see where that stuff's coming from. So no other content on the opinion page. And so that's going to get him, more subscribers leaving the paper, more authors leaving the paper. The opinion page editor quit when he heard that decision. And so for me, it just cements my decision not to do business with any of Jeff Bezos's companies. So I'm going to continue not shopping at Amazon. I don't like Amazon Prime, and I'm not signed up for that. And I recently stopped doing any kind of shopping at Whole Foods. And so, again, if you don't agree with what they're doing, don't feed the billionaires. There are plenty of other places to shop. Number 4, go on a social media diet. Many billionaires are making gobs of money by stoking outrage on social media and collecting our data, our words, and our images on social media and on our devices. This group obviously includes Musk, Trump, Mark Zuckerberg, the 3rd richest man in the country. You can see a pattern going here. And he's also the founder of Meta and Facebook, and also the guys at Microsoft, Apple, Google, ChatGPT, etc. Now, I admit, deleting all of your social media accounts would be difficult for many people, including me, but I found that cutting back actually is doable and it's very beneficial. Last spring, I took Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, X, WhatsApp, WordPress, and many other apps off of my smartphone and went through all of my smartphone settings and got rid of notifications and tracking, except for just a few items. I also began wearing a vintage watch, which is really cute. See how cute it is? A vintage analog watch, and I got rid of my Apple Watch. And so I was amazed at how much less distracted my life was when I made those simple changes, and also how much quieter it was around the house. I didn't have all these binging and bonging and things like that. And so try it. You can, sort of delete things and cut back and not share so much, perhaps curate your friends list. I've gotten rid of hundreds of people on my personal Facebook page who I didn't even know. They weren't really my friends. I had them as acquaintances, but they're gone. And so you can do that. Also, get rid of toxic people. Don't hang around in toxic spaces. It's not good to have people in your friends list that are just constantly antagonizing you and starting arguments. And you know what? You don't even know if they're real people. So, cut back, and I'll guarantee it'll make your life a little calmer. And you know what? You won't be feeding the billionaires anymore. Number 5, protect your personal data, information, and images. Corporations, artificial intelligence, and bad actors are watching you. They're stealing your data, your information, and your images, and they're learning from every click, every photo, every bet, and every share. So think twice before you're posting personal information or photos, particularly of children, on social media. It's not a safe space for everybody. Do you have social media accounts or apps that you don't use much or at all? Delete them. You would be surprised how many apps are actually following you even though you're not using them. Because often what I've found is the settings are all set to maximum notifications and maximum surveillance. So tamp that stuff down. But again, you have to go in, you have to dig around. And I think it took me an hour to turn everything off on my new smartphone. So Big Brother is watching you gamble your earnings away. It will be watching you if you do a journal that's online. And it will watch you if you have a period tracking app and you're, worried about missing a menstrual period. So they will use your vulnerabilities against you. So go analog on some of these things, especially the gambling part. That is just a cesspool of surveillance. They're going to know everything about you, and it's not going to be good, and it's really not good for your health. So listen to Grandma on that one. So number 6, cut back on online shopping. Online shopping became really commonplace during the COVID-19 pandemic, but the pandemic is over. There's a lot of stuff in the stores. not all the stores are there. You do have to check, but my first go-to place is to try to buy something locally. Now, I do usually go online and see if it's in stock locally, and, I make sure what's there and what isn't there. Sometimes I'll have something delivered to the store in Tucson, and I do that because if I go to the store and it's not what I want, I can leave it at the store, or I can take it back to that store, and it doesn't have to, go through some big process to get back to whatever warehouse it came from. And so, yes, some goods are hard to find locally, but local is where I start. And if I can't find it locally, I will try to buy direct from the manufacturer or from a maker, like on Etsy. And you can get a lot more creative things that way. You can also more likely get goods that are made in the United States, and they're definitely better quality. I've seen people, like, for example, I have a long sleeve swimming suit that I bought at Duluth Trading Company. I bought it direct from Duluth. It's very well made. I saw a friend of mine at the pool the other day in a long sleeve swimming suit. Hers was all baggy and weird, and she got it on Amazon. So, be picky about where you shop. Just don't go for your knee-jerk reaction and go to Amazon or go to Walmart. Shop around, because there's a lot more deals and there's a lot better quality than you can find at those places. Also, here's a pro tip for cutting back on online shopping. Unsubscribe to those relentless retail store emails that you're getting. Number 7, say goodbye to fast fashion and hello to vintage. Discount retailers like TJ Maxx, Ross, Kohl's, Walmart, and Amazon promote cheap, poorly made clothes that don't last long. Fast fashion clothes can be so cheap to make that when you return them, they don't restock them, they just throw them away. And this is bad for our planet. There are piles of fast fashion clothes, like in lots of other countries. You can see it on the internet. There's big piles of discarded clothes from us, primarily. And so rather than buying that cheap junk online, I would say, look at vintage and look at secondhand if you want some unique styles that are affordable. For example, I know a lot of people who buy clothes at Poshmark, Etsy, or eBay that are either newly made from a creator or secondhand or vintage. I had a friend in the legislature who had some really cute suit jackets. She got them all on Poshmark. So there's other places to shop besides the cheap retailers. I'd also suggest here in Tucson, there are a lot of vintage and really cool secondhand stores where you can find cute clothes and interesting housewares. For example, on Speedway, in about a 5-mile length on Speedway, starting at Campbell, there are lots of really cool stores that you can find vintage and secondhand. For example, starting at Campbell, you have Buffalo Exchange, you have the Midtown Mercantile, the Antique Mall, you have Speedway Outlet, Goodwill, Annabelle's Attic, Bookman's. There's a lot. And so pretty cool stuff. I got my cute analog watch at Midtown Mercantile. And so there's some cool stuff out there. Don't just, fall to the first default that you think of and forget about fast fashion. Another hint on clothes is I would suggest, number 8, don't wear logo gear, okay? Don't give these corporations free advertising. It's just ridiculous. Yes, it's almost impossible to get a pair of athletic shoes without a logo on them, but there's lots of other clothes and gear that don't have logos. And okay, fine, if there's businesses you want to promote, or you want to promote like your alma mater or a sports team or something like that, that's fine, but I'm not going to name names as far as big corporations because I don't want to give them any publicity, but let's not, wear the corporate gear unless we have to because of our jobs. I would also say that, you can modify your clothes, for example, or modify your gear. In fact, I've gotten into buying, lots of cute little stickers that you see in the stores. A lot of the artists, for example, on Etsy are sending you little stickers. And so I stickered all of my water bottles that had logos on them. So goodbye logos. You can also put a patch on a shirt to get rid of a logo. So please don't give them free advertising. Don't give them your data. Don't give them your pictures. Don't give them your words, okay? Keep your stuff to yourself. Number 9, be self-reliant. Learn a craft, make stuff, fix stuff. Americans have become too dependent on technology and store-bought conveniences. Being lazy and letting machines do everything for us, like remembering our friends' phone numbers, isn't making us any smarter. Many of us don't have the practical skills that our parents and grandparents had, like sewing, cooking, vegetable gardening, basic woodworking with basic tools, basic home and car repair. These skills used to be taught in schools, but not anymore. And now that so many of the young parents don't know these skills, they can't even pass them down to their kids. Now, we all know, especially after the pandemic, that YouTube is a wonderful place for how-to resources, but you can't ask a question of a YouTube influencer when they're rolling through how to change a carburetor. So how can we bring together the older people who have these skills and the younger people who would want to learn them? That's a good question. Find community in real life. You may have 1,000 friends online, but how many of them are real friends? How many of them have you met in person? How many of them would console you when you're sad, or give you a hug when you're lonely, or bring you a meal when you're sick, or give you a ride when you don't have any wheels? Self-isolation is not good for our mental health or for our society. We need to get out more, people. Segment 3, Dementia and Drugs in the White House. We on the left often attribute Trump's inaccurate statements to willful lies meant to deceive. Several months ago, I wrote a Substack piece entitled "Make Lying Wrong Again." I was tweaked at Trump, Vance, and Musk for lying about migrants eating cats and kids having sex change operations at public school. I was also frustrated because the drumbeat of lies and ridiculous stories in the campaign speeches and then in debates and on social media seemed to be continuous, and obviously, it's gotten way worse since Inauguration Day. It's one thing to be a pathological liar who seeks to gain by deceiving others. I would put Musk and Vance in that category. You'll remember that Musk, Vance, Bezos, Zuckerberg, Vivek Ramaswamy, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Senator Lindsey Graham, and many others warned about how dangerous Trump was and spoke out against him. And now, seeing the money and seeing where the power is, they have all flipped and they're now true believers in Trump. Until recently, I would have put Trump solidly in the pathological liar who seeks to gain by deceiving others category. Just look at his history with his business dealings, his lawsuits, and his extramarital affairs. He has not been a good husband or a reputable businessman, so why would we expect anything more from him? Trump told lies about crooked Hillary and perpetuated the Pizzagate pedophile fabrication. He led lock her up chants, and he called for harm against her during the 2016 campaign. And all of that was dismissed as nasty campaigning by a guy who had a reputation as a jerk. These days, his outlandish lies and disjointed stories are so profuse and absurd that it makes me wonder if something else is going on here. We've never seen Trump's medical records. How much plaque is in his brain? What if Trump actually believes what he is saying is factually correct? Haitian refugees in Ohio are eating our pets. Children are getting sex change operations in public schools. The Los Angeles fires and the D.C. plane crash were caused by DEI. President Zelensky is a dictator and he shouldn't have started that war against Russia. The 22 election was stolen. The January 6th guys were just tourists and totally good. Does he believe any of these things? All of these are inaccurate statements, and all of them were promoted by Trump and his buddies. what if Trump is actually not a conniving business genius looking for the next sucker, but only a cognitively impaired old man who says or posts whatever comes into his head with no concern over the facts or the consequences of spreading misinformation? If Trump believes it, it must be true. After all, there's even a MAGA hat that says Trump was right about everything. Not so much. In a recent podcast on Musk's takeover, I noted that when I see erratic, aggressive, and illogical behavior like Trump's and Musk's, I ask myself 3 questions. Number 1, what legal or illegal drugs is this person on? Number 2, is there an underlying diagnosis? And number 3, what is the end goal? 3 weeks ago, when I posed those questions, I theorized that world domination was the end goal for the Trump-Musk administration, and I called bingo on that one. I think that's totally the end goal. But what about the drugs and the diagnoses? The American people have gotten no information and no mental or physical health records for President Donald Trump, who at 78 years old is one of the oldest presidents in our country's history. And we have gotten no mental or physical health records or drug screening tests for unelected co-president Musk and the members of his Doge team. Those people are completely unvetted. We don't know who they are. The American people deserve transparency regarding underlying diagnoses and legal and illegal drug use in the leadership of this country. Trump, Musk, and the Musk's Doge team are making sweeping, dangerous, and uncalled for changes to our government that will throw millions of American families into financial and emotional chaos in the name of efficiency and getting rid of wokeness. That is, diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI programs. I want assurances that these people are sane, not mentally impaired, and not hopped up on pharmaceuticals or illegal drugs when they're making these decisions. I don't think that's too much to ask. Playing amateur psychologists, several reporters in the mainstream media have been dancing around Trump's abnormal behavior, befuddled speeches, and frequent factually inaccurate statements. They muse about the optimal way to report on Trump's incorrect statements, wild claims, and unconventional ideas, like taking Greenland for its minimal wealth or taking Gaza for its real estate development potential. Should they take him seriously, but not literally? Literally, but not seriously? Not literally and not seriously, or literally and seriously? Trump is the president, like it or not. Roughly 50% of the people who voted in 2024 voted for him. I say we should take him literally and seriously and hold him accountable for all of his statements. During the campaign, many people made light of Project 2025 and said Trump was just a huckster and he made grandiose statements, but we shouldn't take anything he says, too seriously, and that we should maybe not take him literally or seriously. Well, I think that was a huge mistake. For example, some people said that he could never deport millions of migrants and undocumented workers. He was totally serious about deportation, and it's happening. He was not joking about grabbing mineral wealth from Greenland and Ukraine. He's not joking when he promotes pushing the Palestinians out of Gaza and making war-torn Gaza into a glitzy playground for the rich. So we should take his outlandish plans seriously, particularly if there's money to be made. He's serious about making money as president. But what about the hundreds of untrue statements Trump has made? Is he willfully lying to us to trigger the libs? Is he just trying to make people like me stressed out? Well, it's working. Or does he actually believe what he's saying? Is Trump a flim-flam man, or does he have Alzheimer's or dementia? And what about Musk? What's he on? If this is their normal, this doesn't seem normal to me. This reminds me of the Iran-Contra scandal during President Ronald Reagan's time in office. Before Trump and before President Joe Biden, Reagan was our oldest serving president. During the Iran-Contra investigation, Reagan repeatedly said that he didn't remember events or dates that he was being asked about. I kept thinking, how could he be so forgetful? Is he lying under oath, or does he really not remember these things? A few years after Reagan left office, the Reagans announced that the former president had Alzheimer's disease and would be stepping back from public life. All of a sudden, Reagan's forgetfulness during the investigation made sense to me. He had early Alzheimer's during those investigations, in my personal opinion. So, does Trump actually believe the cat story is true? The sex change story in school, the 2020 election steal story, the mixed up story about who started the Ukraine war? Does he believe these things? Because not knowing reality from fiction is a much bigger deal than lying for profit. We need to know about this guy's mental and physical health. Thank you for listening to A View from the Left Side today. For now, this is Pamela Powers signing off. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, like it on social media, make a comment, and share it with your friends. In the meantime, please take care, be healthy, and stay vigilant. See you next time.